Sometimes there's a man, I won't say a hero, because what's a hero? But sometimes there's a man, and I'm talking about the dude here. Sometimes there's a man, well, he's the man for his time and place. He fits right in there. And that's the dude.
I don't think it's a coincidence that my favourite characters across video games, movies and TV shows are usually anti-heroes. Of course, there are dozens of heroes and villains that I absolutely love, but when I think typical generic hero that can do no wrong, I just think boring.
Hard to say. People love a hero.
And when I think sinister, comically bad, mustache-twirling villain, I just roll my eyes.
Oh hell, let's just do what we always do. Hijack some nuclear weapons and hold the world hostage.
But anti-heroes, not always, but often, are that perfect medium. And overall, are just far more interesting characters in terms of understanding and exploring their motivations and principles. So let's take a closer look at that, shall we? An anti-hero is defined as being a main character in a story who lacks conventional heroic qualities, such as idealism, courage, and morality. So let's start at the start. But actually, not at the start, because when we see anti-heroes for the first time, typically they are already established characters in their universe. The majority of anti-heroes, to the audience, have very ambiguous backgrounds, and their past either gets revealed through the use of flashbacks, or it stays a complete mystery for the entire runtime. Typically when we watch the hero's journey being unfolded, we see them go from being the everyday normal human being to having a stature of power and responsibility, and typically villains aren't given much of a backstory at all. They purposely have those ambiguous backgrounds for the audience to judge their actions after that initial encounter with the hero. The former is done to show growth and achievement, which in turn encourages us to root for that main character and makes us sympathise with them at their low points. And the latter is often done to cover up that dark past and prevent us from sympathising with the villain. The idea being that the villain may not always be a bad person deep down, but has more fallen down into a difficult situation and is forced to remain in that position. Obviously, when we're discussing villains with more nuanced motivations, we are more likely to sympathise with them. And the YouTuber Emplemon has a fantastic video on that subject if you wish to check it out. But, again, anti-heroes are that perfect medium, and they have those ambiguous backgrounds, but they still go on that hero's journey. For example, John Wick lets us know nothing about John Wick, but he is still such a threatening force to us because of the way characters act around him and talk about him.
Oh, John is a man of focus, commitment, sheer will. I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
It's gone.
But what makes this journey so impactful is John's clear motivation. His wife's passing, his dog being killed in front of him, and his car being stolen are all things that just make us instantly sympathise with him. We don't need to know anything about John's past for us to understand his position in this situation. And as the film progresses, we start to get an idea of John Wick's occupation. so things begin to click into place. And we have this understanding that John may not have the best moral compass, but as the audience, we are too mad at the opposition to really care about that. We pity John, we like seeing John in action, and we like seeing John get his revenge. An eye for an eye. Beatrix, or the bride from Kill Bill, contains a fairly similar revenge story. Beatrix is trying to live a normal life, and a former business associate returns to kill everyone she loves, and to her it appears like her unborn child has been killed, which just makes these flashback scenes horrific to watch. And yet again, the past and the context to all of this is completely irrelevant. The clear motivation is there. And I mean, the motivation is actually so clear that it's even the title of both movies. And just like with John Wick, the action is very well shot, very well choreographed, and acts as fantastic spectacle when witnessing the bride slaughter 95 people throughout both volumes. And it's that backstory not necessarily being covered up, but more being drip-fed throughout the story that makes it just so much more effective. A concept that the Western genre had very much perfected. Having an ambiguous background, a clear motivation, and who needs morals when you're an absolute badass? I think we've established what makes anti-heroes tick, and why I find them to be so effective in all forms of media. So, it's about time we talk about the best anti-hero. Breaking Bad is easily one of the best TV shows of all time, and Walter White's character development across all 5 seasons is just fantastic. It is so unmatched. No other show comes close to achieving what this show does with Walt. In the very first episode, Walt has been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, and obviously the audience will just instantly sympathise with this. Walt's a good chemistry teacher, he's a good husband, and he's a good dad. Just a really friendly guy going about his life before turning 50 and facing this extremely sad news. But Walter, on the other hand, he don't give a monkeys.
I'm sorry. I just need to make sure you fully understand.
Best case scenario with chemo, I'll live maybe another couple of years. It's just, you've got mustard on your... right there?
At this point in time, the only thing he is worried about is how his family will cope after he's passed away. And whilst some of this is played off for comedic effect, the fact that he only has his family in mind is very noble of him.
Good state college, adjusting for inflation. 2 kids, 4 years of college, remaining mortgage on the home, cost of living, food, clothing, utilities, $737,000, that's what I need.
So Walt, being an expert in chemistry and recognizing through his brother-in-law Hank just how much money can be made in the meth business,
which was well organized.
Hank, how much money is that?
It's about 700 grand. It's a pretty good haul. As I say,
Walter takes it upon himself to team up with Jesse Pinkman, as he knows the streets better than Walt does.
I'm not the street guy, yo.
And the two of them cook and distribute blue crystal meth, and inevitably find themselves in a lot of trouble. and difficult positions. But no matter what, Walter, at this part in the story, always had the best of intentions deep down.
There are going to be some things that you'll come to learn about me in the next few days. I just want you to know that no matter how it may look, I only had you in my heart.
But as the story progresses through numerous character interactions and super tense events, Walt's character very subtly changes into almost a whole new person.
Tuco. Hey, why don't we all just relax, huh? Stay out of my territory. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
We're done when I say we're done.
And the line for Walt's morality isn't quite as clear as it once was. So many innocent people have died because of his actions. He's had the opportunity to save people and chose not to, and he's put people through hell to benefit himself. I think Walter always saw it in his head as the ends sort of justify the means, and the means being saving himself, his business, and of course his family. And speaking of, his excuse behind all of these terrible things was that it was all done for his family. Until the final episode of the show, in what I would argue is one of the most hard-hitting scenes in all of fiction.
Skylar. All the things that I did. You need to understand.
I have to hear one more time that you did this for the family.
I did it for me.
This scene is just brilliant. He finally comes to terms with all of this madness, and all the things he's lied about since the very first episode would come to a crashing halt. And I must admit, despite me loving this scene, I think way too many people take it at face value. And half the people will praise him as some kind of hero for coming forward with all of this, and then the other half will say something like this.
You don't see it, do you? He's a villain.
But obviously in online discourse, any semblance of nuance has been completely chucked out the window. Because the reality is that Walter White is certainly not a hero, but he's not the villain of the show either. He's, well, an anti-hero. He didn't exactly make his money in the most honest way possible. Definitely got way too greedy with it. But aside from the purchase of this 2004 Bentley Continental GT, Walter until the end still ensures that all his remaining millions are passed on to his family. He didn't exactly do much to help Jesse's life. If anything, he actually very much ruined it. But he still makes the correct decision to save him in the finale. Going broad with this one, but he didn't exactly make the community in Albuquerque very positive. But he still made sure to cut any loose ends and ensure that everyone else was safe, and didn't have to look over their shoulders 24/7. It's a very divisive case. There's a reason why we all root for Walter in the end, whilst simultaneously acknowledging that some of the things he did were absolutely horrific. And this is very much acknowledged in the show itself. I mean, at the very end, Walt is slowly bleeding out and is appreciating a meth lab for one last time. And the song Baby Blue by Badfinger fades in, which is such a clever song to utilize here because obviously the baby blue refers to the color of the meth being produced. But the opening lyrics of the song also begin with, "Guess I got what I deserved," which is super fitting because this scene is very bittersweet. Walter kind of won in a lot of ways, but this is such a good send-off for the character. It now means that people can hopefully move on with their lives somewhat stress-free, and all of the horrific things that happened in the past can now just become static on the radio.
I did it for me.
I liked it. I was good at it. And I was really I was alive.